When I first picked up the guitar when I was 14 years old, I was just fascinated by this instrument. It was a classical nylon string guitar that my grandmother had gifted me, and I loved practicing on it, and I loved playing with it and figuring out all the different chord stylings and the different sounds that each note would make and how to increase pitch by bringing your fingers up further along the fretboard. I was just obsessed with it. As I was going through schooling, there was never anything to say, oh, you can do something with music, you can be a music publisher, or you can get into music licensing or music supervision, or nothing like that. There were no options like that back in the 90s. But I still knew in my heart and in my soul that I was meant to be doing music, that it was all I was really passionate about besides playing soccer. Actually, at the time, I was very passionate about playing soccer. So those were my two loves, soccer and music. I didn't end up going the path of being a professional soccer player, even though I toyed with the idea. And I ended up majoring in TV production because with college, there was only music classes where you'd learn how to play an instrument like the flute or the sax or be in band, or it wasn't really something I wanted to do. What I didn't know is that there was a whole career in music licensing. And the first thing that I had to do to allow myself to be open to this idea that there is a business surrounding music and that I can get into the business somehow was to embrace who I was. Today, we're going to talk about why it's so important for you to embrace who you are and what that can do for you. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Welcome to the License Your Music podcast, where I'm here to give you all the tools you need to license your music for film, TV, ads, trailers, video games, and more, so that you can have passive income and obtain creative freedom. I'm your host, Jody Friedman. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today, whether you're watching here on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Music. I so appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to tune in. And if you're just hearing about music licensing, or you've been pitching and you're tired of pitching to a endless black hole, I want you to come by my website at licenseyourmusic.com. I've got a free guide for you. It's completely free. There are 5 steps in that guide on how to get your music heard by music supervisors. So come by, grab the guide. Hopefully that's still up. If not, there's going to be a different guide up if that one's not up. So it's March 2021. Thank you for joining me today. This is going to be a unique episode because it's more of an introspective look at oneself than just sharing facts with you about copyright or licensing or publishing or whatnot. When I first embraced who I was and really truly embraced it and decided that, all this other stuff that I was focused on to try to make money, because I was focused on making money and finding a way to do that. And I didn't know of a way to do that in music without being a superstar record label signed artist. But when I first embraced who I was and embraced that I was meant to do music, things started to change for me. And I didn't stop working. I didn't immediately quit my job. I just opened my mind to the idea that I wonder how I can make money with music. But the first step in that was embracing that, really truly embracing it. It's one thing to just do music as a hobby. And if you're a hobbyist, there is nothing wrong with that. But there's a difference between being a hobbyist and a careerist. A careerist takes that hobby and turns it into a business. And that's what I teach in my masterclass, in my music licensing masterclass, which right now is closed, but there's a wait list, so you can come by the site and get on the wait list if you're interested. The class is going really splendidly. The students are loving it. They're learning a lot, and we're working together on a lot of things, and it's just a lot of fun. But one of the first early modules in the class, I talk about this concept called Elevate. And the first step of Elevate is embrace, E is for embrace. And it's about embracing who you are. And for me, that started really happening after college, when I was living in New York and I was still gigging. I'd been gigging since I was 16, and I was now 24, 25. And I gigged in Tallahassee, Florida, where I went to school. I gigged in Atlanta, Georgia, where I lived for 2 years after school. I gigged in New York City, where I lived in Manhattan for 2 years. And while I was in New York, I really got steeped into the scene down in the Village in Washington Square Park. I spent a lot of time down there where a lot of the singer-songwriters, musicians really grew up and developed that scene. Specifically, Bob Dylan, who I coincidentally am wearing his shirt today. So maybe that's a sign. I didn't realize that until just this moment. But Bob Dylan and what he did for that scene really inspired me and transformed me into this individual who just really said, you know what? I have a good job, but it's not what I need to be doing with my life. I don't need to be working in news. I need to be doing music. I'm meant to do music. I've already written songs people respond to. I love it. I'm good at it. I need to do this. And I truly embraced that. So it is so important. That allowed me to evolve from there. And it's so important to embrace who you are and look at your life and look at what you've done and, the different things that you're drawn to. And it might be a songwriter. It might be a performer. Maybe you're not a songwriter. Maybe you just love performing. And that is awesome. There are some amazingly talented performers out there. And perhaps that's something to touch on. Just because you're sing and play does not make you a performer. You can be up there, you can perform your songs, but if you stand there and you sing and play and you look down the whole time, or you just look at the audience and sing and play, that's different from being a performer. There are people who dedicate their whole art to performing. So if you are wanting to do that, if you're wanting to be a touring artist and you just love music, you love the idea, or you've played on stage and you've gotten bit by the bug, that performing bug, it's a lot of fun. It's a rush being on stage and seeing people react and feeding off of each other's energy. But you still have to know how to perform. You have to know that it is a performance. You are putting on a show for the people who come to your shows, and they spend time, they even spend money to come and see you. You better put on a killer show or they're not going to come again. So I think that's important to touch on. And that might be who you are. You might be a performer and not a songwriter. And the good news is, especially nowadays, if you are, there are places to find songs that you can perform. One of those places is a company called Rocket Songs. Rocket Songs, it's March 2021. Rocket Songs provides songs for artists looking for original songs for them to perform. So you can come to their website as an artist. It's rocketsongs.com. You can come to the website, you can search for songs, and you can get a license to then add your voice on that song and release it on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. You release it as though it's your own. It's not your own. You don't own the rights to it. You just have a license to use that song and put your voice on it. So it's the same thing that artists have been doing for the past 60, 70 years. When popular artists cover other people's songs, like the way Sinead O'Connor covered Prince's Nothing Compares to You. I don't know if you knew that, but Prince wrote that song and Sinead O'Connor performed that song. He wrote it for his band, and then Sinead performed it and made it really popular. But, it's no different in that Sinead found a song written by a songwriter that she did not write. So it's been happening for years and years and years in popular music. It happens all the time. So what Rocket Songs has done is created this platform, this website that you can go to and find original songs for you to add your voice on top of. And it's just really, really something, because they've got songwriters in there that have written hit songs for Rihanna and Timberlake and who else? Gosh, there's so many on there. Beyonce, Jason Mraz. There's a lot of songwriters in their system that have written really stellar songs. So if you're a performer and you're listening to this and you know that you just love to perform but you don't want to write, or even if you do want to write, there's still a reason to go to their website and check out what they offer, because even songwriters that write their own songs, sometimes they perform someone else's because that song really speaks to them as an artist. And if you can find a song that you really connect with as an artist that you want to cover, especially an original unknown song, no one else that you release it to is going to care who wrote it. As you probably remember being a kid, you hear songs and you just assume they're written by the person singing it. You don't really dive into the business and look up the liner notes until you get older and you start to understand, and you're like, oh, I wonder who wrote that. But really, most people don't bother. They just assume, they're like, I dig this song. I'm listening. I'm jamming to it. Oh, this is a great song. I love this song this person created. And they just assume that that person created that song, not knowing that there are other songwriters a lot of the time behind those hit songs that come out. So it's a very common thing, and it's something I highly recommend doing. In fact, the EP I made in 2015, I finally went out and co-wrote on all 3 of those songs. And I had songs that I had written myself, but I decided not to release them because the songs that I had co-written with these other writers, some of which had had hits, just really, really resonated with me as an artist and as an individual. So I chose those songs for that reason. So I highly recommend checking that out. Embracing who you are. So if you're a performer, that's great. If you're a songwriter, amazing. Embrace that and then lean into it. Dig into it. Try to understand the art of songwriting. Study other songs. Take them apart. Reverse engineer them. There's so much learning that can be done after you embrace who you are and you have a defined path of where you want to go, a defined idea of what to do next based on what you want to do, what you're meant to do in this world, what you believe you're meant to do. If you're a songwriter, great. If you're a publisher, if you just love the business and you want to be a publisher, amazing. There's so many great things that you can learn about publishing. Through my masterclass, there's tons of books out there. There's other online courses I'm sure you're aware of. So it's just a world of opportunity for people to learn these days that did not exist when I was coming up. If you're a producer, if you aren't really much of a songwriter, but maybe you love producing beats, or you just love production and sounds and playing with sounds, there's a lot of different areas you can go with that genre-wise. And I encourage you all to experiment with different genres. You might think to yourself, well, that's not really my jam. I don't really like that genre. You'd be surprised when you start experimenting with other genres, with producing and creating and even writing for genres that are outside your comfort zone. You're going to find things that you like about them that you never really knew before. And it'll give you a whole new perspective on those genres. And it'll also expand you as an artist and as a creator, which makes you that much more evolved, that much more valuable of a creator, and will make you more likely to get collaborations with other people who write in other genres. There's no reason to just have tunnel vision and think, I got to stay in my lane. I am Americana. I am singer-songwriter. I am hip hop. Whatever that is, it's good to have that grounding and that foundation, but it's good to also expand and collaborate with others and expand your knowledge so you can bring those influences back to your core. And then you end up with something that's a hybrid, that's unique, that nobody's ever heard before. And it all mixes together. And that's some of the most exciting stuff, especially in licensing. When music supervisors hear the same songs day in and day out, it's so refreshing to hear something that is an amalgamation of genres, but still is a great song at the end of the day, and fantastic production. Production has to be top notch, of course. So embrace who you are. Don't dilly-dally. Don't put your toe in the water a little bit. Really dive in and just embrace it. You only live one life. And once you do that, I promise you, things will start to change for you. That's the first step of my Elevate philosophy. There are 7 steps total. And I'll probably do a webinar about that at some point. There's definitely a whole module on it in our masterclass. And it's really a transformative experience that I try to create for people. And I want to take you from this beginning stage of embracing who you are to the final stage where you fully evolve and you transform into something new and different and evolved. Thanks so much for stopping by and listening to the podcast. Or if you're watching here on YouTube with me, I so appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Leave a comment. If you're on Spotify or Apple Music, please leave us a review. Give us 5 stars if you like what you hear, if you learned something new. Tell other people about the podcast, about the YouTube channel, and just about our platform, License Your Music. You can follow me on Facebook at License Your Music with Jody Friedman, on Instagram at License Your Music, and of course on our website at licenseyourmusic.com. Get on our list, get on the wait list for the masterclass, because we're probably going to open it up back up this summer sometime, maybe late summer, maybe early summer. I haven't decided yet, but it's doing so well and people are really responding to it. So we're going to open it up here again. Thanks so much for listening. Stay cool. Peace.